Hello everyone and welcome to the 19th episode of the Little Thespian podcast. On today's episode, we talk to the amazingly talented, gifted actor, singer, dancer, and all-around lovely human being, Theodore Vlachos. I truly cannot wait to talk to Theo, so without further ado, let's hop into episode 19 of the Little Thespian podcast. Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the 19th episode of the Little Thespian podcast. Today we are with the amazingly talented, gifted actor, singer, dancer, an amazing human being, Theodore Vlachos. How are you, Theo?
I'm doing good. I'm doing amazing. I'm so happy to be here. This is so much fun.
I love doing it.
Awesome. Great way to spend my Saturday night.
Me too. I adore doing this show, and I'm so glad we can have you on. And all of our guests. It has had amazing reviews, and that's thanks to you guys watching at home. So thank you guys. And thank you for the amazing guests you guys continue to suggest for me to come on. And Theo was one of them, and I'm so glad because this man is so talented. But we'll get to that. Before
Matthew, you are too.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me.
Before we hop in, I usually do some housekeeping. So this month is Movember. So it's for the health of the man this month. So if you guys can rock a stash, I encourage you to do so. Also, we are still a part of COVID as we speak. COVID is still ravishing the world, unfortunately. So every time I tell you guys to rock the hand sanitizer, it's your best friend. Watch your hands and wear your mask.
Do you see it? So this is my Purell hand sanitizer, and I'm just gonna squeeze it onto the hand like so, and then it's super. You just rub like that, just like that. Notice over the nose.
I would just want to point that out.
And if you wear glasses, even better. Tucks it right in for you. See that? Right.
Isn't that beautiful? Also, guys, November 11th is Remembrance Day. So if you guys can wear a poppy, it's greatly appreciated. Also want to shout out Samara O'Gorman, who's doing this whole thing with poppies. You know how we used to do the whole rainbow initiative in April? Well, now you could put a poppy out your window and kind of showcase that you are, I guess, shedding awareness towards the veterans during this time. And I don't think it should just be one day that we remember these great soldiers, but all the time. So thank you guys, and let's hop in to episode 19 of the Little Thespian podcast with Theo. So usually I ask this question first because it starts conversation, and this question is, how exactly did you get into theater, Theo?
Well, I always wanted to be an actor from a kid. I loved performing. Um, my first time on stage was in daycare when we did, it was for our graduation at Sokrati Daycare. Or is it called Sunrise? I don't know. But anyways, and we were like singing Greek songs or lip syncing to Greek songs and dancing on stage. And I remember being in front of an audience and actually having like an amazing time. And then I loved watching like the Disney Channel growing up, like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Wizards of Waverly Place, That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, Hannah Montana, Sweet Life of like all of the Sunny with the Chance. You know what I mean? High School Musical. You know what I mean? Like all of those pinnacle moments of history. I grew up watching, and I really wanted my own like Disney Channel show at the time. I still do. But I knew from a young age I wanted to act. And at first, the dream was wanting to be like a movie star, like Hollywood movies. But when I got to grade 7, when I started high school, I went out for the school play, and it was a musical. So I tried my hand at singing, and that was when I fell in love with singing. And from then on, my love for musical theater has only grown. And now I sit before you as a man who wants to be in musical theater, but would also love to be on television, would love to be on the big screen. I want to do it all, but what's pulling me right now has to be my musical theater, because it's just been my love for so many years, and it's really what ignited, like, I can do this. Like, this is it. This is what Theo needs to do, kind of thing. So
You and musicals, I definitely need to get you on and talk about musicals with you, because my God, your voice. For those of you that have not heard Theo sing, you guys really should. So I wanted to also ask you, if you had to be in one musical right now, what would be your top of your list?
oh, like currently on Broadway?
Currently on Broadway, yeah.
Okay.
I know,
In a
super
perfect
hard.
in a perfect world, Elphaba and Wicked. But realistically, probably Damien in Mean Girls. I just need to learn how to tap dance. That's the only thing. But like, I would rock the shit out of Damien and Mean Girls. I grew up with Mean Girls. Mean Girls was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I probably know every line by heart. And then when I heard it was being turned into a musical, I was so excited, and it's so good. It's genuinely so good. And the role of Damien calls my name, like, and I grew up with that character. So like, yeah, I think it would be Damien for sure.
I can definitely see that. And you said Broadway. I can definitely see you on Broadway at some point in time. You are so welcome. And you also did some musicals here. So you did 9 to 5. And I believe you also did a concert version, or I don't know if it was a full play, of Rent, right? So
yeah, yes, I was in like it was one show, and it was there was 145 people in the room, so it was pretty intimate and just that one show of it. But it was the musical of Rent, and I got to play Tom Collins, who
amazing.
was probably definitely one of my favorite characters I've ever got to portray on stage ever. And honestly, that show and that experience was just like a bucket list moment, because Rent was one of those musicals that came into my life at a time in high school when I really needed it. And it has stayed with me since. Like, anyone, I mean, Rent is one of those musicals that like every musical kid knows and will, like, you know, you hear the first chord of Seasons of Love and oh, like, you know, like everyone knows it. And it's a bit like, some might say overdone, hashtag Tracy Lee, but it's a pinnacle, and it will always be that iconic show. And to get to be in that one production of it, playing Tom Collins and getting to perform the beautiful music that Jonathan Larson wrote, a dream, an absolute dream, truly.
I mean, I'll Cover You. There's so many amazing songs in that, and Tom sings like 95% of them. But
Well,
yeah,
well, you know what? It's definitely it's a musical of like many different people.
exactly, the ensemble.
But Tom is like in it's just like any one of those roles. If I got to play Angel, Roger, Mark, like there's just so much across the board that is just so takes your breath away kind of thing. And yeah, I really, really am grateful for that experience. And I've been missing that because it's been like a year of nothing.
Mm.
So that's been crazy.
But
And that show happened in October of last year. So like recently, you get the notifications on your apps of like a year ago today.
Yeah.
I got a year ago today of that show, and I'm like, oh my god, it's already been a year. My goodness.
For whoever has not heard or seen Rent, I strongly encourage you to listen to it. It was the first musical I ever listened to, and it made me fall in love with musical theater. Was Rent, because it's just so grounded. It's everyday life. Um, it's dark. Don't get me wrong. It's sad, but it's definitely a musical that I highly suggest. And yeah, if you guys want to hop into some musicals, Rent might be one that you definitely want to check into. You also were in 9 to 5. So we're going to be going into all your roles that you have done, both at Abbott and not at Abbott. But 9 to 5. So how was also doing a show with Wista?
Wista was so fun. Like it's okay. Wista truly is like a community. Like it's like everyone. I walked in and everyone knew each other. Everyone was already friends. It was like family from the start, and everyone was very warm and welcoming. And I loved it. It was great. And to get to put on Dolly Parton's musical, like I love Dolly Parton, and the songs are box. Like let's not lie here. 9 to 5 slaps. And it was so much fun. And just it was a comedy musical, and I don't think I had ever been in. Well, no, that's not true. I had, but just to be in another comedy musical after it had been such a long time, it was like it was so fun. Like the energy was high, and I just have so many fun memories from that show, and backstage, and warming up before the show, and like little like things like Robin Kravitz, who played oh god, why am I blanking on her character's name? Judy. Me and her had like so many inside jokes throughout the show. Like I would bring out papers and there'd be something written on it that I would always try to make her laugh every show. But I would always be sneaking through the curtain to watch her number, because she had this huge number, Get Out and Stay Out, at the close to the end of the second act, where her character's arc is like really like peaking, and she's really coming into her own, and she killed that song. And I would always be watching from the wings like, oh my god, I loved it. Because I'm like literally like a musical theater geek who's in a musical. So I'm like, I'm in the show, but I also want to watch the show. Like she's killing it out there. Are we seeing this? Yeah. My stage managers would get mad at me. Like, you're not supposed to be there. Anyway, don't do what I do. Don't do it. Don't do it.
But no, I completely get that, because even when I was in Mary Poppins, it was supposed to happen during COVID. I was always looking and trying to see Pat and Deirdre do their amazing work. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I can see this. But that's the thing about theater. It's like being backstage, you want to see it from the outside point of view. And sometimes you get the chance to. Most of the time you don't. But it's so incredible that we just pick up these families and we just put on something that we might never see. You know, it's crazy. But I also want to.
And you know what? You brought up Mary Poppins, and I just want to. So I got to see some rehearsal footage, and my God, the show that would have been. And I really would have loved to see that show. Honestly, it looked amazing. So I just want to throw that in. They killed it. Take my word for it. They killed it.
I wish it could happen, and I wish we can do it afterwards. But now it's just, it's happened, and we just gotta get through it. But I also want to jump into the other show that you were doing during that same time you were part of 9 to 5, which was Dr. Faustus. So how was doing this? How was doing?
Was that was do you know, do you happen to know that show, by the way?
Um, yeah, I think I've lost a couple of teeth from that show.
Yeah,
Certain
I think someone
somebody.
was. I think I remember someone like really bothering me in that show, and me just having to like take action. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't know who.
funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. Um, but how was the experience of playing with the third years and doing this classic show?
Well, I mean, when I got when I first got like the script, which was sent digitally from our teacher Jason Howell, shout out, it was like typed up in a way where it was difficult. It was old English, Christopher Marlowe. So at first I read it through and I was like, okay, this one's gonna be a challenge. This one's gonna be, it's not gonna be like Tennessee Williams, and it's not gonna be like a comedy or anything. It's gonna be one of those like you gotta think. No, I'm just kidding. But like I did appreciate the story at the time though of reading. I was like, okay, the story is definitely like awesome. This guy selling his soul for like ultimate power and knowledge, but his ultimate demise because of it. I thought it was a sick story. And also Mephistopheles coming in and, his or her play in that play. But it's just like what came to be of the show. I can only credit to the amazing talent of the technicians, the amazing talent of the actors, and the amazing talent of the direction from Jason Howell. Shout out again. Because what just a show it was. It was so much more than I had thought it was. This show, you know what, really taught me how to read scripts from now on. You have to, and Jason taught me this, you have to read a script and see what it could be to make it that. I didn't see what it was going to be when I read the script the first time, and to see what Jason made of it, I was like, wow, that it's crazy to me. It was amazing. And I loved that we as an ensemble got to share that show together. And I think it was like the one that kind of snuck up on us because it was up against, well, not up against, it's not a competition, but it was playing at the same time as Pride and Prejudice. And everyone was, gawk-eyeing over the fact that John Abbott was doing Pride and Prejudice, and it was amazing, by the way. John Abbott's production of Pride and Prejudice was phenomenal that year, like seriously amazing work. But I feel like Dr. Faustus was the underdog that kind of swung in and was like, oh shit, like we didn't expect her. Like it was a fun show. I don't know, what do you think about, do you have any thoughts on the show, Matthew?
Faustus for me was probably one of my favorite shows I've ever done. Mainly because it was just like you said, it came out of nowhere. At the beginning, I read it and I'm like, okay, how are we going to put this on? Because it was so over the top, so fantastical. And I look at plays during that time, like A Midsummer Night's Dream, and sometimes it's very hard to do. But my God, you are so correct in saying that it just was brought to life by so many amazing people. And I mean, I never thought I'd play so many comedic roles in one, or I mean, not so many comedic roles, but a horse courser. I never thought I would be able to play that. The horse courser for me was probably one of my favorite characters I've ever played, mainly because of the just atmosphere it brought. And I really loved how they dragged in this stuff that you would just be going into the audience and being connected with them. It was so amazing. And again, I never thought I'd also have my teeth pulled in a show and love doing it every single night. But it was just being...
And you know what? I gotta say, like, I want to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to say his name for the third time. Jason Howell was so gracious during the rehearsal process of that show because he was so open to ideas and what people had to bring. And even in the role that I played, I mean, I played a few roles in that show. I played the second scholar. I also played Frederick, who was one of the other trios who gets dragged to hell. I got dragged to hell in that show, legit. Girl. But during the rehearsal, like there was a bunch of things that Jason encouraged that we just like bring something, add something in, who is your character and what can you bring to this particular scene and what does this scene call for? For instance, with the opening of like the three scholars, in the second scene of the show, we're coming in and we're looking for Faustus and we're like, the direction is just that we walk in one at a time. But Jason gave us like the simple thing as just like have fun and bring something. So we just improv and it turned the scene into this whole comedic scene that totally fit the play and where it was at that point. While we're like bumbling around looking for like, it was a lot of like body humor, stuff that you couldn't put on a page, but it was completely because like Jason encouraged us to like bring stuff like that, which I love because as an actor, you challenge your creative juices get flowing. You don't feel like you're like confined. I can't work when I feel confined. It's so like, I don't know if you're the same way.
Oh, I definitely am. Definitely am. And I found that Jason, like with his direction, like for the sins, because I played Envy, and he didn't even like, he kind of said, okay, we're going to do the 7 deadly sins. You guys can basically come out, try something. I never thought I'd do like a Joker laugh for some reason. I just played. And I found that him directing the way that he did, it just allowed everyone to play in that show and just do what they thought their character should be. And then he would kind of rail it back where he needed to. But I have to say, there were certain times in that show that I'm like, how are we getting away with this?
Well, that's Jason for you, man. Like, I will definitely admit, I may have snuck in quite a few improv lines that I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it was, you know what? Honestly, I don't think that anything that was put on was ever outside of the spirit of what the show was. I think we honored the show with whatever freedom Jason gave us, which was the best part. Was that like, it wasn't like anyone was taking the time to make it like their show or like make it anything that was like selfish. It was, I think everyone's choices were to honor the show. And I think because of that, like we just end up with this product that one, everyone's really passionate about because they have a little bit of themselves in it. And two is just under the wing of this phenomenal director who's done many shows and who has an eye for this and just really has an eye for it and will just, and the technicians and the talent that Abbott has and the facilities that we were access to in that program is just, it was a piece of theater and a half. And I feel like, damn, we could have went on tour. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that about like quite a few shows that I did at Abbott though. Like, I would have loved to tour the Laramie Project or like Peter and the Starcatcher or any one of those shows, but Faustus as well. Really love that show.
So to jump into one of those shows, I'm actually going to talk about your first show that you did at it with your team, your troupe. So that's Laramie Project. So how was doing that in the studio for you?
That show was like purely and simply magic because it was the first time. Okay, so the way anyone watching who might not know, the way the Abbott program is set up is it's 3 years and you don't do any shows in the first year. You just, do like, you work on text or you like, no, you work on like your fundamentals, like creation, your voice, like your technique, all that stuff before you actually get onto the stage, which is great. And I love that about the program because it gets you to focus on like things before, it doesn't let you get ahead of yourself. But once you get to doing your first show, you're antsy. You're like, we've been waiting kind of thing. And also, over all that time, you and your ensemble have done so many trust exercises, things like contact improv, which just inherently literally brings y'all closer together, where you can like maybe smell each other's armpits closer kind of thing. But like in doing that, you really do bond and connect and become closer in a way that you don't with other people. You get really vulnerable with these group of people, very emotionally vulnerable. So when it comes time to doing our first show, let's just say we're already very clearly connected. And the subject matter of Matthew Shepard's story, I am so honored and blessed that I got to be in some part of his legacy and the telling of his story. Matthew Shepard was a 21-year-old who was brutally beaten and left for dead in the 90s. And the Laramie Project is his story and the aftermath of it and how it shook the town and the court case that followed it. And it's kind of like if a documentary was a play, it is the Laramie Project. They took real excerpts of what people said and put it into the dialogue of the play. That's called a verbatim play, verbatim theater. So we said the words that were actually said in this town of what happened. And some of those words were very full of hate and hard to say. But other words were full of love and, connection. Married with the fact that our director of the show, Rob Burns, who is a musical theater kid at heart, just like me, he took some creative liberties and he added in certain spots some songs from Dear Evan Hansen where it fit. It just married together and made this, I think, beautiful piece of theater that just tugged at your heartstrings and also told this phenomenal story of this phenomenal human being, while also coming into all of our lives at a point where we had gotten so close and it was our first moment of theater that we shared with one another. Everything about it was just magic. And I get goosebumps thinking about that experience. And I'm so grateful.
Laramie Project, me going to see it, I mean, there's been several shows at Abbott that bring me to that point of just being sad, but Laramie Project, I was crying for sure. It was an amazing show, and your ensemble, I mean, beyond talented, and then you had this thing, this story that was just so troublesome. And I find that a lot of these stories just touch people so differently. You have Laramie Project, you have Innocence Lost, you have these shows that just toss you into these people's lives that actually did happen. And it's very heartfelt, to say the least. And I definitely hope that Laramie Project can come back at some point in time. I know I had the privilege to do Find Me Twice, and I was so grateful to tell that story. But Laramie, I would love to see it happen again with your cast, because
Me too.
More people need to see that.
I would love that too. I don't know. Let's try to manifest it. I hope my other castmates potentially might be watching. Let's make it happen.
I will send it to them all because it needs to happen, and more people definitely need to see the Laramie Project. So to shift gears into another show that you did, and the last show, sadly, but Peter and the Starcatcher. How was doing your third year show on the Casgrain Theater stage?
Mrs. Bumbrake. One second. Okay. You ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
This was gifted to me before our last show. It was in a little paper bag. Everyone in the cast got one. It was by Lorianne Flynn, and she wrote a beautiful message on the back. And I love you, Lo, and if you're watching, I love you and I miss you. And she gave us all little pictures, and this was the picture she chose for me, and it was me in the dressing room. This show was amazing. I loved it. how egotistical do I sound? I did though. This was different than what we had done. So, Laramie was beautiful but heavy emotionally, and very real, grounded in reality. Faustus, not grounded in reality, but still very dark, very demon, like precipice of God and like all these things. Peter and the Starcatcher, childhood, family, sandbox, realness, like imagination and laughter and play and just in that every sense of the word. It was just like completely us as an ensemble coming together and creating sometimes the scene we were in, or well, a lot of the times creating the scene we were in, or just working as a unit in some way. That was like a huge show where we really worked as a unit. Matter of fact, quite a few shows that we got to do together, like Laramie as well, were shows where we really had to work as a unit like that and move kind of as one. But that show was so much fun. And to play Mrs. Bumbrake was a dream. Like, I don't know when I'll get to play a role like that again. Hopefully soon. I don't know. But she was so much fun. She just, when you get that kind of material where you can just really sink your teeth into it and it's kind of your bread and butter, of course you're going to have fun with it, and of course it's going to be amazing, and it was, and I'm very grateful for that role, and for the time we got to share as an ensemble. We didn't know it would be our last show, not only together, but as it stands currently our last show. But even still, I think we all treated it with so much love and respect, because what we did know was that was going to be our last show as just an ensemble, because what was to be our last show in the program, but that was going to be mixed in with the second years, which was fun. We were so excited for that, but this was like our own kind of thing where, like, as a class we shared, and I think it's really kind of beautiful that actually ended up being our last show because of how special it was. It was probably one of the best ways to go out. I remember looking out at the audience at the bows, teary-eyed and choked up, thinking, wow, this is an end of a great thing, and I still feel that way. And I didn't know how much of more of a meaning that final bow would hold in my memory books, but it was just as heartfelt then as it is now, and I'm very grateful. What can I say? I got to be a part of these amazing works of theater, and I hope there's more.
I know there's more. There are definitely more amazing things coming to you on stage, on film. Musical theater is definitely where you are going to be. But yeah, Peter and the Starcatcher, man, amazing. And it must have been great for you, because you were just talking about Disney beforehand. And it must have been good to put on almost a Disney show. I know it's not completely the same, but Peter Pan, I mean, come on, that's a classic.
Who doesn't love Peter Pan?
Exactly. But
I
yeah,
loved it.
Peter and the Starcatcher floored me. The, again, set design, the acting, the singing.
Like, again, just a shout out and testament to, like, the caliber of talent that is the John Abbott Theater Program. Like, I will advocate for them, like, forever. Like, I'm so grateful for my time at that program, and just what they produced and made, and what they allow us as students to do and gain experience in before going out and attempting to do it in the real world. And I remember, like, during fittings, like for Mrs. Bumbrake, wait, hang on. Matter of fact, in my wallet, I want to see if I still have it. I do. I carry around, this was on my dressing room mirror, on my spot, I have my name, Theo. And it was my design from Emily. Shout out to Emily, who's so amazing, who designed the costumes. And this was the original design. I keep it in my wallet because I love it so much. I remember getting fitted for this costume and just telling the amazing teachers, Leslie, um, and anyway, just everyone that was there. Like, I don't know when I'm ever going to get fitted for a costume again, and this is such a beautiful, special thing. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just remember wanting to soak up that moment because it was like, you're getting fitted for your own personal costume right now. Excuse me, like, like, calm down, Theo, calm down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very special, and the amount of work that they put into everything. I'm just so grateful, and I miss it. Can you tell? I won't shut up. I miss it.
I miss it too, and I remember actually, if we talk about fittings, when I went in for my last Mary Poppins fitting, there's just, you become a family, and it becomes so close knit. And you think maybe just the ensemble. No, every little detail, every little person that you meet that's in love with theater, in whatever form that takes, it definitely plays a factor. And I remember going in and Leslie, um, just coming in and talking about how's your day, how you've been. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Leslie and Maggie, because those sisters of the John Abbott Theater costume department, rather, just so talented, so kind, so full of just warmth and so friendly. Like, I'm friends with Leslie still on Facebook, and her Facebook posts are, she's an artist, first of all. Have you seen her drawings, anyone watching? An artist. But just phenomenal. Just so many phenomenal memories. Like, I'm so grateful. So grateful.
I also want to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom for someone that might want to go into either the John Abbott theater program, which I highly suggest you guys do, or just jump into theater for their own pleasure?
I would say always remember why it is you're here doing what you're doing. And be very clear with yourself what you want out of it. Because even in my own story, you might expect one thing or be chasing one thing and then completely get something else. Be open to that. Be open to the journey taking you to places, because ultimately that is growth. And if theater did anything for me, it helped me grow and open my mind to so many things and connect with people like I never have, and connect with myself like I never have. But you have to be open to it. It can be very hard. But I would say that's my advice. Know why you're doing it, and stick to your guns no matter what. Stick to your guns.
It is definitely a hard profession, but you are so right. It's the entertainment business is so rewarding when you know this is what you want to do, and you go and you just play. There's a reason why they call it a play, because you're playing different people, but it's also because it's just so enjoyable for not just the actors, but the people watching it. Because me going and watching a play, it brings me so much joy. Because I'm thrusted into this whole new world. We were just talking about Peter and Starcatcher. I would have loved to be in a Disney film. And basically what I did was I watched a Disney film on stage, in a way. But it was so incredible. And I know that every time you guys go see a play, you are brought into some dark stuff, but then you come out and you realize stuff in your own life. And that's what I love about acting and theater. It's just you are brought into someone else's life. And it's amazing.
It is amazing. And I'm almost like feeling a bit emotional now talking about it, just reminiscing. It's such a special thing that we get to do, Matthew, and I miss it dearly, as I'm sure we all do. And I'm just grateful. I'm just so grateful for all the memories, and for the, like, we met in the theater. The theater brought us together, Matthew. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't be talking right now if it wasn't for the theater. It's brought so much good into my life, and it's been my light, and I truly just love it so much, and I miss it, you know.
Me too. And I mean, it's true. It brings in a whole family with it. And it's true. I do miss it. And I cherish the moments that we have on stage and in person, because it's so nice to just talk about theater, which is why I made this podcast in the first place. It's to shine a light on good people and to talk about something that always brings joy to people in whatever way it can. Um, and I am so glad to have you on, Theo. So I have two more questions, but before we get into those, I just want to tell you guys what's happening on episode 20 of the Thespian podcast. So we have a first for this channel and for this podcast. We do have many big guests coming later on in November and December, but we do have a first for the 20th episode. So we have a first United States member coming on to join us here on the Little Thespian podcast. Her name is Brittany Pollock. She is an amazing actress from Los Angeles, California, which I'm going to be talking to next week. I truly cannot wait. We're going to talk all things theater, all things teaching and whatnot in theater from our, I guess, friends from the South. Or north. I don't even know. I'm not good with geography. But over the border. And it's going to be a great time. I truly cannot wait. And I hope you guys cannot wait either. There's also many more guests coming and many groups coming on the Little Thespian podcast. So it's going to be a great time. But let's hop back in with Theo. So I have two more questions for you. One of which is, what has been your most rewarding role you've done at Abbott? And what has been the one that you think has challenged you the most?
I think the most rewarding, I don't know, they were all very rewarding, and it's hard. It's like picking your children, but I guess the Laramie Project, just given how special it was, they were all special. That makes it sound like the rest weren't, but I don't know. I guess the Laramie Project was the most fulfilling. And the most challenging, I think I also have to say the Laramie Project, simply because we like rocked and socked it, baby. Like, it was 4 days of 8 shows, 2 shows a day. And just given how emotionally heavy the show was, it was very draining in that regard, doing it twice a day for those 4 days. But it was like a wham bam turkey and ham, like, fast thing that happened in that 4 days, but so special and left such an impact. And I would do it again. I would do it again so quickly. I wish I could do it 8 times a week, every week. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I guess that was the most challenging. But Peter and the Starcatcher was challenging in a different way, where like there was more musicality to it. So like there was a bit of choreography and a bit of like group ensemble work, and some of the lines we had to say were all in unison, and we would practice that before every show, like the Vimo Romo Rosso Yada. I don't even remember all of it right now, but yeah.
Honestly, like I find that when you have those things that you need to do, whether it be like just practicing before the curtain, or just like having to do shows back to back to back to back, some people don't realize how much work it actually is to keep your voice, to keep everything in check. And I found that definitely with Faustus, because I had to change voices, I had to change all sorts of pitches and stuff like that with the show. And yeah, definitely warming up and doing stuff like that definitely is something I also want to shout out on here, because warming up, guys,
So important.
is so important. I know Tracy, Leanne, our teachers who watch this are probably just being like, yes, thank you for talking about that, because it is so important as actors, just to warm up your instrument. So if you guys are hopping into theater, I highly suggest that. And you'll also get brownie points from your teachers.
If you go ask, well, I was personally told this by people in the tech department, specifically Catherine, my stage manager in Beauty and the Starcatcher. She was saying, like, we always knew when you were warming up, Theo, because your warm-ups just freaking haunted the whole damn theater department. Like, and I'm sorry. I know I'm a bit of a loud bitch when it comes to warming up, but you gotta warm up the instrument. It's important. Take care of your stuff, because that's what you got. This is your moneymaker, baby. This is it. You gotta take care of it. But you know what? It's just speaking on like vocal like preparation. I'm one person who, like, this is just advice for like preparing for a show. If anyone is getting into it, I'm someone who can like get very neurotic and nervous with the prep of like, okay, I gotta make sure my voice is warm, and like over warming up because I'm nervous, or like, you know, pacing and all these things. And just remember that right before you go on, it's gonna be a new show, a new moment, a new thing every time. So what I do and what I would give advice to do is just ground yourself, close your eyes, take 12 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, to get connected to your core and your breath, which is you literally need for your technique on stage, but also to just calm you down and ground you into this moment. Every show I did, every show that I've done this before, which it started to become my regimen before every show, I've never felt more calm and grounded and ready to start a piece of theater in my life. And I learned that especially in Peter and the Starcatcher. So yeah, just connect to your breath. Very important.
And also what I do too, I do breathing for sure. It definitely helps. But then I say right before I go out to myself, it's just play. Because literally that is your job. It's to just go out and play. Enjoy whatever comes your way, and don't let it bug you. Because a lot of theater actors and just actors in general think, oh my God, I just ruined that. But then 5 minutes later, there's a whole new scene, and they are just transported back into that world that we were just talking about. So it does. You may think it's the end of the world at the moment, but it's really not. The world is going to continue to be amazing. You just have to get out of your head and continue going through the show.
Yeah. When all else fails, just honor the storytelling. What's the story you're trying to tell? It's not about like how good you are or how good the audience thinks you are, but what's your story? What are you telling? Like, why is the story being put on? What's the gravitas? What's important? You know? Because we can get very, as actors, our egos can definitely get in the way, and we can get very about like maybe our vanity or like, you know, what people are thinking. But whenever we get like that, we're not in the moment. We're in other people's heads. Or we're in the future thinking about like, is it going to be good? What are people going to think? What are they going to say? Or we're in the past thinking of a past time we screwed up and like, are we going to screw up again? Is that going to happen? But we're everywhere else, but except being in the moment and focusing on what you're doing. So I work on that all the time, and I try to get better at that. It's a struggle for everyone. I'm not like trying to preach as if I know and I got to figure it out. I don't. No one does. It's just, you know, it's a constant practice.
It is, and it's a practice that I love. And the last question I have for you, but I feel like it's probably the best to end it off on. Where do you see your future going from here? I know it's super bright, but where do you see your future in, let's say, 10 years?
New York. I'm going to say it. New York. But I get scared with that whole setting markers and dates in your life, because on one hand, it's a goal and it keeps you driven and it keeps you like wanting to accomplish that goal. But on the other hand, there's no need to compare ages of when certain things will happen, because it happens different for everyone. But if you're going to ask me where I see myself in 10 years, New York. New York. I don't know. That's what I hope.
I can definitely say it's going to happen. Probably not in 10 years, probably earlier. But
well, first Toronto. Before New York, Toronto. Definitely.
For sure. And I can definitely see you in very big musicals coming up. And just, yeah. So without further ado, let's hop into shining a light on Theo. Again, it's going to be very hard to shine a light on Theo. He's an amazing human being. So to shine a light on Theo, the man's an amazing actor, amazing singer, and my God, just the most loving and caring human being you can possibly talk to. You can even see it over the Zoom call. I cannot wait to act with Theo again. Hopefully sing with Theo at some point, because we never got to sing together. But my God, just an amazing talent. And I cannot wait to see the amazing future he has, because it's going to be huge. My family's talked about your amazing stuff during our time together, even during when you were in Cabaret and you did One Last Time. Incredible. And I know that soon, very soon, you're going to be on the bright lights of Broadway. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank you so much, Theo, for being on.
Thank you.
And it has been a great episode, guys. And if you guys liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And Theo also has a YouTube channel. Go check out him on YouTube. Links down below. Any closing remarks, Theo?
Just be kind. Love. That's it.
Awesome. Very lovely put. And guys, like I say on every episode, don't forget to shine bright, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, Theo.
Bye. This was so much fun. I miss you, friend.
The lights are off. The curtain has fallen, and it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us on the Little Thespian Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask, either down below or on any of our platforms. On the next episode of the Little Thespian Podcast, we talk to the amazingly talented, gifted actor, mother, and teacher, Brittany Pollock. I truly cannot wait to talk to Brittany all things theater, teaching, and beyond. It's going to be a great time on episode 20 of the Little Thespian Podcast. Yes, guys, we have hit a milestone, and I truly cannot wait to talk to our first guests from over the border. It's going to be a great time on episode 20 of the Little Thespian Podcast with Brittany. Thank you all for watching and listening to the 19th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast, as we had Theo on, and thank you so much, Theo, for being on. It was a great episode, and I'm so glad that you're doing well during this time. Guys, thank you for the amazing support. If you guys want to show some more, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Also, we're going to be having some amazing stuff coming your way, including our first Shakespeare sit-downs. So if you guys want to be a part of that, and you guys want to further your knowledge on the Bard, please let me know. Also, guys, go check out all our social medias down below, as well as all our guests is always down there, so you guys are definitely going to want to check those out. Thank you all for being so amazing, and thank you guys for allowing us to continue to do this. This has been your host, Matthew Crandall, telling you guys to shine bright, and I'll see you all on the next Little Thespian Podcast.